Hi, everybody. Okay, welcome back to When Starbucks Was Fun podcast. This is our fifth pods. Blah, 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 blah.
Number
This is our
5.
number
One,
five. I
two.
can talk. And I'm Adela Levine, one of your
And
hosts.
I'm Jeff Hartman, your other host.
I mean, do you ever listen to your name and ever thought about Hartman? Like, it's a pretty powerful name.
All I know is because my name is Jeff and then Hartman,
Yeah.
if you say it too fast, let's
Yes.
just say I was called a very naughty thing when I was growing up by all the
Oh,
kids.
okay. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
I
it's
actually
okay.
don't I can't picture it because I guess maybe my brain doesn't think
But I
that way.
appreciate that because it is I have a lot of heart. The
You
man with a lot of heart.
you do. You are the man with a lot of heart.
I try.
And this is our 5th episode, so let me, see if I could talk again. And this podcast is about kinda rolling back time, going back to the Bucks where me and Jeff met, which is a great segue to what this episode is about. At a Starbucks. We opened the 5th Starbucks in LA. And by the way, Jeff, when I tell people that when I go into a Starbucks, they are not impressed.
No, because they don't realize what it was like then.
Well, I mean, even just like if I worked at a McDonald's and someone said, I opened the 5th McDonald's, I was like a kid, I'd be like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
They look at me like,
What do you want?
and, and what? And
Do you
what do
want
you
egg bites with that? You are correct. I would say to people, like, I'll go into Toluca Lake store, and if I'm getting a vibe like from the cashier or something, most of the time they don't want to even engage. I
Right.
mean, whatever
Well,
generation.
it kind of makes sense. I mean, when I was that, when it was me, we know that I wasn't into it.
But I would be like, "Hey, I used to work at the store," and they're like, "Oh, really?
Right.
Is
They're
that all
like
you're getting today? Grande mocha?"
"Do
No.
I care?" I think that when I actually worked at can you see what I'm doing?
No.
Oh, because 'cause I'm being producery. So I'm sneakily being producery.
Sneaky
When
snake.
I went into the one at where we worked at,
Mhm.
people were like they didn't care. I tried to tell them. Actually, one kinda cared. He kinda cared,
Or he
to be
acted like he cared, which is might be the same thing. They're like, "Oh, really?" And then you turn
Right,
around, they're like, "Next."
right, right.
But I have told people, "Oh, I worked here in the '90s." They're like, "Really? Cool.
They're like, "Yeah, yeah, okay."
Okay,
I
old
know,
man."
I know. So but needless to say, we did open up the 1st
The
not the
5th.
1st, the 5th Starbucks in LA, and we did, meet there, and that's what this episode is gonna be about.
It's gonna be a little trip down memory lane.
A little trip down memory lane. So, we have some backstory to it. I don't we're not gonna leave everybody in suspense. And this is gonna kinda lead into things that Starbucks kind of affected our lives about.
Mhm.
So, we're gonna get into, I guess, what is it? Post Starbucks
Oh, what
events?
what what ha where our journey went after we left Starbucks. Where our
Becau
life journey took
Right.
us.
Because as weird as it may sound, some of the things that we experienced in opening that store and everything kind of led us into some paths of our lives. For me, it for sure did. And meeting Jeff actually created a whole domino effect into, yeah, you.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Well,
for sure. And so we're going to kind of get into, you know, a little story that is
little magical.
a little bit emotional,
Emotional for sure.
but and a little strange for sure.
Little different.
A little different.
Yeah.
And that will kind of explain our meeting. And then through that, we'll kind of weave in why I feel this was actually able to happen because this was a different time and it wasn't the Starbucks you see today. Because I don't think something like this would have really went down today. I mean, first of all, they
Right.
wouldn't have had the time. I mean, with all
Well,
the
that's
things
true. But we
they
also
have.
didn't have, and a little callback to last week is the
Yeah.
technology. Technology, we didn't have social media, we didn't have smartphones or Google or any of that.
But
So,
I mean, I'm saying like the fact that we were able to do this. So everyone's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Okay, so I will kind of start off with my end of it. I'll start with my end of it, and we're not going to go on and on and on.
no,
We're just going to do a little brief synopsis. If you want to hear the full story, I have it on my podcast, The House Medium, where Jeff was a guest on, and you'll get the fuller story. The fuller, is that a word?
fuller. It is, I
Fuller.
think.
It is.
You
Okay.
wouldn't say more full.
More full.
No, it would
Fuller.
be fuller.
And you're drinking what drink are you drinking today,
I
Jeff?
have the grande hazelnut oat milk shaken espresso.
I mean, how do you even you couldn't even say could you even say that in the lingo we used to say?
No, because I go up to the counter now and I'm like, can I get that hazelnut oat milk shaken thing?
Yeah, and they don't care.
And they're like, okay,
Yeah, because they
is
don't
that
care
going to be
about
scanning or scan your app, please? Thank you.
yeah. Yeah,
Basically.
there's no like, for me, I got a this is a caramel non-fat caramel macchiato, so I could say iced tall wait, am I saying right?
Grande? Did you get a
Iced
tall?
tall? I got a tall.
You got a
Iced tall.
tall?
I
That
got
looks
it
like a
tall.
grande.
This is a
No?
tall, yeah.
Oh,
This
it's
is a tall.
small.
And I got it non-fat, and they write on it because I got it at Target.
That's old school, yo.
Yo, old school and not made very well, just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
They don't have the same training. They
They
don't
don't
get
have enough
trained in a hotel room in the carriage inn anymore.
mm-mm, they
That
don't.
made all the difference.
That's what made the magic when
That
you're, like,
was
scared
a
for your life.
bonding.
"What am
That
I
was
doing here? Who's gonna come into this hotel
that was a
room?"
bonding experience
Right,
when we all were
exactly.
converted to the cult of Starbucks.
They didn't have the conversion happen to them. They haven't fully been turned.
They've been partially turned by the Target team.
Yeah, that's why they're only half. It's like
They're
they're
like
half
if you
vampire.
they're like if you were in a Harry Potter world, they would be what Hermione is. What
Oh,
is she?
yeah. She's half
Half
muddle.
blood, a
Half
muggle,
blood. A muggle.
muggle.
Half muggle. What did I say, muddle?
That's what you do when you're making a mojito. You muddle
Well,
them
you see
in.
where my brain is. This drink is a crocodile.
Oh God, I
No,
need
but
water.
you're right, half muggle, that's right. So,
Mm,
they're half Starbucks
yeah,
and half Target. I will say they're mostly Target.
they're a
So,
hybrid.
I
Hybrid.
saw a funny TikTok about that, like, going into the Target Starbucks versus to the regular Starbucks, yeah. It's kinda true.
It's true.
And they, and here's why before we get into our story, here's a little story of the day of me going to a Starbucks trip. The funny I was telling Jeff, I go to my local Starbucks, I drive up because I do the drive-through, because I dress for the drive-through. I'm not dressed yes, I'm vain. Well, so what? And I drive up and there's a sign. And by the way, like a chalk sign, not like a fancy sign.
So
Like a
like one of those sandwich boards, like the
sandwich board,
easel thing.
easel, Starbucks sandwich, and it
Hmm.
just written on there, "Sorry, we're closed today." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What's
Did,
happening?"
did you call 1-800 Starbucks and ask them?
I was like, "Hello? This is Karen, and I wanna know." No, I didn't I did
Can I speak to your manager?
"Is Mr. Starbucks there?" I used to get that all the time, by the way, no joke,
Oh
all the time,
God,
that I would like to speak to Mr. Starbucks. Anyways,
Karen.
yes, so I Karened it out. I didn't.
Hmm.
But I did drive around all nosy and see people. There was like, so if anybody knows why they were closed, I don't know. There was a truck that said Hello Fresh, and people were setting up like tents. And I don't know, maybe it was a fundraiser. I did look up on 2023 they had a fundraiser for AIDS walk or something, but it wasn't this year.
Right.
So I was like,
Did you go
what?
back in time? Were you driving your DeLorean through the drive-through?
Oh my god.
That's what it
Actually,
is.
I think I was like in a spaceship.
Ooh.
I went in a spaceship. It's happening again, Jeff. Yes.
They're here.
Did I tell you that sometimes I sometimes work at the Starbucks on the spaceship? That's the only Starbucks I will work at. No.
Probably a throwback. Yeah. They do things
Yes,
differently.
they do things differently there. They stick more to they're more Puritans of
Pure.
the
Yeah.
of the
Mm-hmm.
coffee. But anyway, so I drive and there's just like people and I'm waiting for someone to even notice me to be like, "Yes, sorry." No one cares. No one notices me. And then there's like weird guys standing there almost look like they're and this is LA, so we're very used to filming.
Right.
So we know what it looks like when they're filming their film trucks and their film trucks are out there. There was no film trucks. It was weird.
Hmm. Were
Yeah.
the men in black?
I was hoping.
Black suits,
I
maybe?
was looking for them. I did really but on a funny note, I really did was convinced there was a man in black on my block because every time I left the house, he would appear and start like walking in a suit.
Yikes.
And he did it for weeks. And then finally I realized I reached out to a friend of mine and who has a podcast called the Bigfoot Collectors Club. And they are into this stuff. They're like, I think it's just a weird old guy. I turned out, I think it is.
Were there any white utility vans in the neighborhood?
There was it was very weird when I went to Starbucks. So they were closed. So I went to the Target. And when I went into the Target, I don't know what was going on today. I was like, I was looking at myself because the lady, as soon as I walked in, looked at me like, oh, great. And I was like, sorry. It was,
Wow.
she just had a look on me like, okay. And then I walked up and there was nobody, of course, because it's 8:10 and they open at 8.
Right. That's
I was like,
why.
sorry,
That's
I just
why. That's why they gave you the look because they're like, oh my god,
somebody
we
there
just open.
people there all the time at Target at 8 o'clock in the morning.
This woman obviously had some problem.
She did not like me. So, and then I get my Starbucks, and then I did the total dumb thing that we all used to hate, most baristas hate, is I saw the drink, I ordered it, and there was a drink that looked just like mine. It looked just
Mm-hmm.
like mine, and I went, "Is that mine?" And she went, "No, no."
Oh, you stupid, stupid girl. Why would you even ask? Does it look like yours?
It is like this is how I felt like she was laughing at me, and I was like.
Was it witchy poo from HR Puffin stuff behind the counter?
God, that's a throwback. Okay, young children, gather around. You don't
Sid and
know what
Marty
you do.
Krofft did a lot of acid, wrote a lot of kid shows. Classic. That's what we grew up with.
And
That's
we
what
were
Gen
like,
X grew up with.
and we were not even aware.
Not phased.
We were like, I guess people fall down big magic hats and go down swirly magical lands with a dragon that puffs things.
HR Puffin stuff.
Sing the song, Jeff.
HR Puffin stuff. Where'd you go when things get rough? HR Puffin stuff. Can't get a little and you can't get enough. Something like that.
That
And then
was
there was
it.
the talking flute. Jimmy! Jimmy! What's wrong, Freddie? Yeah. Yeah,
Let me
that.
tell you something. I was in love with the kid. I
Oh, of
was in
course you
love with
were.
the
That
boy. I
makes
was
absolute sense. You remember Lidsville by any chance?
no.
Lidsville was Charles Nelson Riley, who, match game, like, oh,
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
he was the mayor of Lidsville, and Lidsville was a bunch of hats with feet like hats, but they were people.
That was a show.
That was a show.
People were high. They were very, very high. You got to understand, for those of you who are young, we were kids in the 70s. So the adults of the 70s were getting high and writing kids' stories.
Magic mushrooms, anybody?
I mean, the name of the guy of the main character is, HR Puff and Stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, and it was a dragon. Does anybody not know what they
But
were?
it wasn't a real.
Ride the dragon. Okay, is a definite weed.
And the
Term.
dragon was orange and yellow and had
Hmm.
wore white go-go boots.
But the cool thing is like it was a real like in those days everything was actual puppets, and so
Yeah,
they
they
were
were costumes.
they were wearing real costumes, and the little kid goes and he's like, I'm watching a magic show. What's behind here?" And he sees like a hat, and then he falls. Woo, woo,
He did fall in a
woo.
hat. I
He
forgot.
falls into the hat, and it's all these different colors.
Very psychedelic.
They were
Mm.
doing weed. They were doing
They
LSD.
were doing a lot of stuff. Sid and Marty Krofft, God bless. That's what we were raised on. That Land of the Lost,
Their
Sigmund
imagination.
the Sea Monster.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on. I
But
won't.
HR Putchman stuff is a pretty clear,
Yeah,
like, acid trip
yeah.
show. Yeah.
So Witchy Poo from HR Puff and Stuff
So
is working
Witchy
behind the
Poo,
counter today.
yeah, she was like, she was like, "No." And then I was like, "Oh, sorry. I thought you were fast." I was trying to be like the lame, funny
Yes,
person that she's
dad
probably
joke, which we try to
total
do.
total mom joke, I guess. And then I got my drink. But I will say that my only main complaint that I always have with the caramel macchiatos most of the time, they don't put enough caramel. And that's to add a little tidbit that I definitely know. And I'm shaking my
Tidbit one.
fan at you.
That's not a good sign, people.
I definitely know. I definitely know that you created this drink because I used to remember putting caramel. That was one thing we had was remember we had caramel flavor
Well, we
before
had
they came
caramel syrup.
syrup, and we would put the caramel syrup into
Mhm.
the drink to give it a flavor, a latte. And then they decided to come out with caramel macchiatos. Just
We did
saying.
it a latte. Oh boy,
Just got
we're
it
losing him.
after,
Flatline. What's
after
happening?
the math. I got it after the math. Okay.
Okay.
So this is my drink, and I do love it, but I don't love how they made it. And I told Jeff that I froze it in the freezer and then thawed it out. It does work, Jeff.
Did it? But the other thing I will say, yummy, delicious. Thank you, Starbucks.
You can call us. We're open for sponsorship.
Call us at or email us at.
Email us.
Uh, the thing I didn't like about caramel macchiatos, I do like them,
Okay.
was that the caramel sinks to the bottom.
Yes, that's the
So,
problem.
so
Yeah,
while once you get to the bottom, you have this caramel sludge, which does taste delicious.
it does taste delicious.
But it's like you'd want that mixed in throughout your drink.
It's
That's
true.
the thing.
I
When
know.
it's
That's
hot,
the
it's
problem.
better. But when it's
Yes.
iced, it's harder. So
It.
anyway,
Hmm. Anyway, wow. So moving on.
moving on.
So okay. So to our story. So we want to take you back. For those of you who don't know, and this is going to give you a little insight to who we are today, I am actually a professional intuitive and medium. But when I met Jeff, and I've been doing it professionally for 22 years, and I will say it all started in a Starbucks. And it all started with Jeff. So we're
What?
working in a Starbucks.
Oh, I
Getting
feel it. Yeah, it
feel
was
it.
busy all the time, remember?
It was busy all the time. Wait, hey, everybody come back. Where'd you go? Okay, there you go. So we're working. I'm God. God in this
God
cafe.
of the button.
I'm God in the cafe. Okay, so we're working in Starbucks,
Mhm.
and I didn't know Jeff very well. I'm going to tell you a little bit from my POV. Do you know what that means, Jeff? POV?
Point of view.
Ooh, good job,
Pin a rose on
Grandma.
the nose.
Good job. Good job. Good job. Sorry. I assumed Grandma was in the house. Okay. So for
Not
my
yet.
not yet. So my point of view is that I wanted to talk to him and I wanted to tell him that I didn't know him. We didn't know each other very well. I knew that he just started and I was having experiences my whole life. And I said, okay, if this is real, and I did have a boyfriend at the time that I was practicing on, his mom, whose sister passed, but I wanted a stranger. I said, if this is real, I'm going to walk up to him and I'm going to describe to him some things about his dad because I kept seeing his dad who had passed. I had heard his dad has passed. My
Right.
mother had passed not too long, before that. I was in my early 20s. My mother died when I was 19. So I understood this pain and everything. So I was definitely coming from a very compassionate, even though Jeff didn't see me that way at the time, because I did have a reputation of being a little bitchy, which I'm proud of. And so I did have an empathy and a compassion for what he was going through. So I wanted to be respectful, and I was terrified that he was
Mhm.
going to tell me to just fuck off. So, and I knew he was a nice person. I could tell by observing him that he wouldn't be that harsh, but still. So I finally got up the nerve and I went up to him and I said, "Your father looks like that. Your father's been coming to me and he looks like this." And he was receptive and I was freaked out. And because of Jeff, I told him some more things and he confirmed it. And because I told him a lot of things and he confirmed it and he didn't scare me away,
Mhm.
he helped change my life. No joke. Because his dad, which is weird, by the way, when I look at Jeff today, this is exactly how his dad looked. It's so creepy and cool at the same time
Maybe it
because
is.
maybe I just slipped down the magic hat. I did.
You and your magic flute.
I mean the magic flute. I could be. So, but I definitely it is so cool and trippy to look at him because when I look at him, that's the face that came to me. And it just confirms it even more. Does that make sense? Like, even more,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
even if I
totally.
doubt it, like, I've read thousands and thousands of people. I've been doing this professionally for 22 years, but for some reason, it even makes me feel better because
Confirmation.
it's like just confirmation on top. I mean, I've had millions of confirmations, but for some reason, because that was the starting point, because that changed my whole path.
Right, that your trajectory changed after
Yeah, it
that. Yeah,
changed. So looking at Jeff's face today, it's just like, that's his dad's face. His dad wore his mustache and beard a little different.
yeah.
But,
He didn't
but
have a beard, but he did have this.
yeah, I'm saying like he wore like it
Yeah,
kinda looked more down or
yeah,
something going
yeah.
yeah, that's how I saw it, and when Jeff at the time, he had this long blonde hair
No facial hair.
blowing into the wind, no facial hair, so I remember going like, "There's no way I got this guy from
No.
this guy because these are 2 different looking people." So and that is how it began, and what is your POV, Jeff?
Well, thank you, Adela.
You're welcome.
I had just started a month before. Oh, I had started in mid-November. My dad
Mhm.
died beginning of December. And I took a couple weeks off. I think I'd only worked with you once before, maybe twice before. We weren't by any means friends. We were basically coworkers who worked together once in a while.
Yeah,
Um, but it wasn't like we were besties or anything like that,
right.
obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I just remember coming back to work after dealing with my dad's death and the funeral and all the things, all the fun things that come with somebody close to you dying. It was a
Yeah,
lot.
it was
So
a lot, and you were really young,
yeah, I was 22 and
and you didn't show any signs. One thing I always remembered because I had, gone through it anyway, you were just very gracious about what you went through.
well, like we've talked before, mental health, we didn't really talk about mental health that much back in
No,
those
we
days.
didn't even have that term. It was called just go in your car and scream to some songs.
Yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
That was your mental health.
Put
Yeah,
on your mixtape
that
and
was it.
yeah.
Right. Nobody
So
talked about those things.
yeah, so I basically came back to work, and everybody knew, everybody knew why I hadn't been there for a couple weeks. It wasn't a
Right.
secret.
Right.
And I think I was working a mid shift, and you came into work, and I just remember you walked up to me at like the sink or something, and I thought you were like, I need to tell you something, and I'm like, okay. And I thought I had done something wrong, or or that, don't forget to line the pastry baskets or something like that. And so yeah, and so you came up to me and said that, I have something, I want to ask you something, and I was like, okay. And you were like, if you wanted, want to tell me to buzz off or get lost, or whatever, I totally get it. I don't know how open you're gonna be to this. And I was like, okay. And you were like, your dad's been visiting me.
And by the way, you were making drinks at the same time.
Yeah, I was working. I wasn't just standing there,
Yeah,
obviously. Yeah.
because I was on break and he was making drinks, and that's why I was saying that that wouldn't fly today. Like, it
No.
wouldn't be like, especially with the kind of drinks people, the million
Oh
drinks they have today,
God.
but also just having a cool manager. Shout out to Tony Jensen, who was on
Right.
here previously. You can go check out his episode. But we had it was a much more like this kind of chill vibe.
Right. It was chill. We were busy, but it wasn't like today,
Right.
obviously. So
Wasn't
you said,
corporate.
your dad's been visiting me, and I said, really? What does he say? And you were like stunned, like surprised, maybe mad, annoyed. I
I
don't
was
know.
disappointed in a way because I wanted it. Most people who have this ability, you kind of don't want it to be real. So
Mhm.
anyway, I was kind of hoping you were going to be like, I was just going to be like, okay, fine, put it to bed, whatever. And so it wasn't. I was definitely not mad. I was just like freaked out.
Yeah, and you were like, and I said, what has he been saying? And you're like, are you okay with this? And I was like, yes. What has he been
Because this was
saying?
'90s. Nobody talked about those
Yeah, we
things.
didn't talk about that. I mean, I had had some experiences as a kid. My mom had had some experiences that she had talked about. It sort of ran in my mom's side of the family with like dreams and premonition dreams and stuff like that. So I
Bullshit.
wasn't foreign to it. And
Hmm.
I always loved stuff like that. I read a book right around that time called Many Lives, Many Masters. I don't know if you've heard of this book. But
Yes, I
anyway,
have heard of this book.
so
I Because people, funny fact is, I don't believe in reincarnation. I'm a medium that doesn't, but I have read the book.
right. So I was always interested in like what happens beyond where this realm where we are now.
Crazy how that happened. It's just, anyway, it always trips me
Anyway,
out.
so you said that. I said yes. What's he been saying? You're like, are you okay with this? I'm like, yeah. What has he been saying? And you were like, I need a cigarette or I need a break or something. And you walked
Regret.
out and just didn't say anything. And I was like, well, that's weird. And meanwhile, I'm like, decaf grande non-fat latte, decaf grande non-fat latte, decaf grande non-fat latte, grande mocha, doing my thing as we did at the Bucks back in the '90s. Yo, way, yeah, the Bucks, eh? So you came back in and you were like, and you were like, okay, I'm gonna tell you, your dad's been coming to me since his passing, and like you gave me really specifics about how he looked, and I will say I do sort of look like my dad now. I think you're right in that I don't have hair.
You look
I
just like your dad. I mean, I mean, I'm not just going on. People would be like, okay, lady, like you saw
no,
a
no, no, no.
spirit, but you haven't. But he later we became friends, and I've actually seen a picture of
I
him.
actually
So,
had an uncle who has since passed. We had a
mhm.
family reunion. I'm going into the future now, and oh God, my phone's ringing. Sorry, it really is ringing, and it's gonna go to the voicemail, and I'm sorry.
Oh, is
So
that a real phone?
that's what we call a landline, and in a moment you're going to hear an answering machine.
You're lying.
I'm not.
You're okay. We have to. Everybody, leave the cafe. We have to listen for this. Are you kidding me?
Let's go.
What? This is gold. Are you kidding me?
I have an answering machine, and nobody leaves a message.
Tell us about answering machines, Grandma.
In 1982, the first answering machine was developed by Sony. It took a reel-to-reel deck, known as a cassette, that you would pop in and have an outgoing message similar to what you just heard. Something to the akin of, hello, you've reached grandmother. Please leave a message at the beep, beep. And then you would.
Grandma, I have one question.
Yes.
Why haven't you gotten voicemail? They do come with landlines, Grandma.
Well, I don't
Today.
want to wait for the mail to come. The
No,
postman takes for a what?
Voicemail, Grandma.
How would
Voicemail.
voicemail? How would you deliver voices in the mail?
Okay, Grandma, it's time for you to go have a little shot of whiskey and have a good night.
Oh, I love a hot toddy.
I can't believe.
Talk about channeling. Whew.
I cannot believe this. I
told you, I'm Fred Flintstone. You're Judy Jetson.
And the funny thing is that was my absolute favorite show because I was obsessed with the future. Because obviously now I know why, because I would see things in the future. But I have a question. Why? Why you do know you could get voicemail with landlines?
We
all want to know.
Aware.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't. It doesn't bother me.
How do you even maintain?
It's digital. It is a digital answering machine. So give me a little bit of.
Oh, how is that possible?
Because it digitally records it. And then you can erase it. It's not on a cassette any longer.
Okay.
I got rid of that last month. This one, this one is digital.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I think I'm the only one of my brothers who actually still has my landline.
Jeff, I need to inform you of something.
Yeah.
You're probably one of the few people in the fucking world who still has a digital landline.
In the world.
In the world.
Well, one of the reasons, I will be honest, that I have it is it's the same phone number that my grandmother had when this house was built. So I kept it sort of in a homage. But also my aunt, who's 82, always calls me on my landline because this used to be this is where she grew up. So I kind of keep it for her.
You kind of like the family historian.
Yeah, I like the family history of it. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, I didn't expect it to be ringing during the podcast.
It was perfect timing. We're talking about your dad. We're talking about an old time.
Oh, that was them saying, we hear what you're talking about.
Yes, they can hear what you're talking about. So, okay. So
we'll go back.
Okay, we're going.
So yes, you told me that you described him physically, you described his personality, and as I've said many times, especially on your podcast, and when I've told this story just in personal land, I said that the clincher was that when you described him as a gentleman because that's what it said on his headstone, which we had just gotten through. And when I say gentleman, it's 2 words, not one.
Gentleman. No.
Yeah.
So to kind of clinch why for me, and this is just to kind of put a bow on this story, that for me made me go, okay, this is going to change my life and my path, was when I went to him and said, well, I don't know, your father was like a gentleman, and then I doubted it and was like, ooh, maybe that's just like common to say that about people who die. And then Jeff stopped me and said, no, wait a minute. That's what we put on his tombstone. I said, okay, so my life is definitely not going to be the same forever.
I need another cigarette.
And I did go have like many cigarettes.
Like Janine Garofalo and Romeo and Michelle. Yeah.
She's like, it doesn't like burn fast enough.
Quick burn cigarette paper.
Can I tell you a funny connection to Janine Garofalo?
I love Janine Garofalo.
That kind of ties into what I do. So flash forward. This is a good segue, Jeff, to like what we did.
Who knew?
Okay. So flash forward to years of me going down this path and honing and everything. Let's say I'm 10 years down the line, I get a client who works on the show Family Guy, and they became
Ooh.
a friend, and we were friends, and I started to read for her, and then she got me a job on the show Family Guy, and I started to work. Yes, I worked 4 seasons of Family Guy.
Wow.
In the animation, I have credits and everything. Um, yeah, that changed my life too. So it all kind of, I believe in this domino effect idea. And I worked at Starbucks, met Jeff, had this experience, started to realize this was real. I started to hone it. I did shut it down for 10 years, brought it back up when I moved. I moved away out of LA anyway. I'm just surmising everything. And then when I reopened it, I really decided to hone it strongly. And then this led me to this job, which led me to reading for one of the directors of the show, which led to him wanting to do a show, and one of the characters was based off of me. And Lisa Kudrow ended up voicing my character, who was based off of me, because he did an animation show. It's on YouTube called Lovesick Fool. And he ended up changing her to a blonde because we separated ways. But
Mm,
Janine played one of the parts in his little
that's
movie. You can rent it
crazy.
on Prime. It's called Lovesick Fool, and the psychic that is in that, who Lisa Kudrow voiced, is based off me.
I love Lisa Kudrow and Jenny
Yeah.
Garofalo.
And she did like a hilarious job. She did a whole different take. He wouldn't let me meet her, by the way. But that's another story, because he said, I don't
Ooh.
want her to be influenced. Anyway,
Mm.
so I got to kind of vicariously get to know her, and she's a tough cookie, that Janine. She is
Oh,
a tough cookie,
yeah.
but I loved her too. That's my funny little story. But that shows you how interesting domino effects can have in your life,
Oh, yeah.
and how they lead and connect and everything
You
like
just never
that.
know where it's going to go.
I mean, I kind of do,
I don't.
but that's a good segue to, like, after we
Once we
were
parted ways,
once we parted ways, because we worked. When did you leave?
I left Toluca Lake, I want to say,
Because you left. No, so when did you leave Studio City? Is my question.
oh, I meant Studio City. I went to Toluca Lake from Studio City
Right.
with Andy. I left probably 97 ish,
Okay.
maybe something like that.
Uh
Like
huh.
early 97, mid 97. I went to the Toluca Lake because they had just opened, and um, I wasn't really seeing eye to eye with the assistant manager, the new assistant manager at Starbucks,
It's
Studio
Studio
City.
City.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a different vibe.
Hmm.
And I just needed a change of scenery, you know. So the Toluca Lake store, because I know that area very well, and I went to Bob's my whole life. The Bob's right next door to it. That it
Yeah.
felt like I was going home. So I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do this. So they transferred me, and that's when I went there. And I worked there for a couple years. I helped open the store in the Disney Channel building, which was in the lobby of the Disney Channel building.
Uh huh.
I opened that store, and then I stayed there for a while, and then I transferred to the North Hollywood store. I also helped open a couple of stores, one in Valencia, one at Oak and Pass in the Vons Shopping Center. I helped open that. I worked there for a little while. So I kind of did the whole Starbucks circuit.
Well, I'm gonna say I did the Starbucks circuit too, but I did it on and off. I always worked 2 jobs. I worked in preschool, but I also worked at Starbucks. So I opened up a Hollywood store, La Brea and Vine, and we were the first Hollywood store. Like, they were,
Oh.
because we got all of the traffic down the Hollywood
Mhm,
Hills. So we got
mhm,
a lot.
mhm.
We got a lot of celebrities. I remember one day I opened up, and Tiger Woods, it was 5:30 in the morning, just walks up, and I'm like, "Holy shit, that's
That's
Tiger Woods."
crazy.
This was before he blew up. Like, it was like, I'm always seeing people right before. Like, it was right before he just became
Exploded onto the
a
scene.
superstar. Yeah.
Mhm.
He was star, and he was in the news and everything. But he drove a very, very, like, normal car, because I remember watching him getting in his car, because I wasn't stalking him. Okay, everybody, calm down.
I was doing a trash run. Nobody can prove it. I had to sweep outside. What are you
I just
talking
happened
about?
to know I was smoking a cigarette. No, so I went out. I just kind of was curious. Anyway, and he was like very gentle spoken, very like soft spoken. Anyway, so we opened that store. I opened that store. I worked at the Melrose store, which was a nightmare.
Oh, the one
A
on
nightmare.
Melrose?
Mhm.
That place was always
It
crazy.
was crazy. We had to shut the bathroom down because there was so many needles that were being found in the bathroom.
Oh my
It was terrible. It was a terrible
Oh
store.
god, do you remember we
People
had
were
to
always
clean the
angry.
bathroom?
We had to clean the bathrooms.
I don't know if they have to do that anymore, but god, that was the
We hope
nastiest
you don't.
part
We all hope you don't have to clean the bathroom because that's just
because
terrible.
people I don't I don't get it. Like they just no couth, no
I
couth.
know.
We had somebody at the North Hollywood store
Yeah,
wrote
no.
fecal matter on the
Oh,
walls,
yeah, it's like
and
it
we had to clean it. I'm like, I don't get paid to deal with this.
yeah, and then by the way, everybody, at that time, guess what? You wash your hands and then you're back to making drinks. That's the weird part.
Well, we would wear gloves.
I'm
I
just
was
saying I'm just saying most places want the 2
yes,
worlds to be
separated.
not
Yeah.
collided, and we were mopping and all kinds
Ah,
of things. Yeah, anyway, so I didn't open that store, but I worked at the store and it was a nightmare. And then I moved to Vegas and I worked at one of the only Starbucks in Vegas. I think
oh
they just
man,
started to put them in the casinos, like a couple, but
that
we
must
were
have been crazy.
it was crazy. Let me tell you how crazy it was because people would come in and they would try to pay with their chips and you know how like jaded.
What?
Yeah, they would give me like Caesars, like they would go, "Here you go." And I was like, "This isn't Disney dollars, okay?"
It's like I have some laundry tokens. Can I pay with those? Nope.
I was like, "It doesn't work here." They're like, "It doesn't?" Cuz this was when do you remember when Vegas was like family Vegas when they went through the whole like we're
Oh,
going
they
to
tried
be
to get
like
all the yeah to bring your kids to Circus
bring your
Circus.
kids.
Yeah,
That's when
Circus.
I was
Yeah.
working at Starbucks. So it was a different vibe. I remember
Mm-mm.
everybody who like the true Vegas people who lived there forever is like we hate it. We hate it. We don't get tips. Like everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants something. So everyone hated it. But anyway, so that's what would happen. Families would come and they would give us chips and people would be drunk and people it was always a
Fun.
party and we were like we're not having a party, okay, we're working at Starbucks, shut up. So it was kind of weird because we were the only Starbucks in Vegas at the time and
That's
so I worked
crazy.
there. Then I worked at the funniest thing, I told this to Jeff, I worked at the Seattle bar one. They
Yeah,
made
that's
an
nuts.
dude, this is a throwback.
Yeah.
This is a throwback
Mhm. I
because
remember when they were gonna they were playing with the idea of opening these Starbucks bars
it was terrible.
with like coffee liqueurs
It
and
was
shit.
the drinks were disgusting, and then think about how Starbucks is, how corporate-y it started, it was.
Mhm.
They were, like, making us measure it perfect, like a little tiny shot in a drink, and then they would have people sit down, and the drinks didn't do anything to you. Like, it didn't get you drunk. It was terrible. It was, like, the worst place. But if you guys don't know this, look it up. They experimented and opened up bar Starbucks, and I worked at that one. And then moved to Cleveland. And then my last thing I'm going to say is this is where I think my path. I moved to Cleveland. Why, Jeff? Why do anybody move to some place like that? A man, a
Oh,
man.
Adela.
I followed a man there.
Big
Married.
mistake.
It
Huge.
It was huge and not in the fun, pretty woman way, because at least she came out with a lot of great clothes and stuff. Anyway, so so I
You are
went
correct. God bless. God bless.
but anyway, I went there and then here's the weird thing about how coffee was following me and kinda helped me because this is I had shut my abilities down for 12 years, like, I didn't wanna revisit that.
Mhm.
married the wrong person, and then I decided to get a job. I worked at a little coffee shop and they closed. And then I went to apply at Barnes and Nobles and I wanted to just do the books. I was like, I just want
Sell
to work with
books.
books. I just want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
sell
yeah.
books. I want to be in a bookstore.
Right.
And then the owners of this Barnes and Noble,
Mhm.
because I guess I didn't know, are they chain? Are they, you can buy them? Are they chains?
The cafes
The
or the
Barnes
Barnes&
and
and Noble?
Noble.
I don't know. I'm not well versed in Barnes& and Noble
I should
lore.
look it up. Maybe I'll look it up. Anyway, they found out that I had worked for Starbucks for 10 years and that I opened these stores and
Mhm.
I was a lead and a floor supervisor and they begged me to work at the cafe. It was a brand new Barnes and Noble and they said you'll make sure it's successful, please. And they said what can we do for you? And I was like, what is happening?
You're like
I am a
$1 million.
I am a queen, but I also was so freaked out, Jeff. I was having nightmares. I was like, no, 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 I can't do it. I
Can't
can't
do it
go
again.
back. I can't go back. I can't do
Don't
it.
fall into the hat. Don't fall into the hat.
I don't want to do it.
Where's my Starbucks?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want
Where's
her.
my Starbucks?
I didn't. This is the nightmare I was having. So all of a
Tiffany.
sudden,
Mm.
there was he was following me to Ohio. And so anyway, long story short, because it's already been too long, so we'll wrap it up, Adela. My friend of mine told me about this company called Java U that came from Canada. They were opening up a little tiny kiosk. The guy didn't know anything about coffee, so I was going to do it part time
Mhm.
and all of it and work at Barnes. I was going to work two jobs because I was trying to get out of this relationship. Anyway,
Got
so
it.
he was like, he said, "Oh my God, he didn't know how to clean the machine." So I was like, "This is how you clean a machine. This is how you do everything."
Why was the openings? Doesn't matter.
Money. He thought it would be.
Oh,
A lot of people think it's really easy to open up a coffee shop back then. They
yes,
were like, "Oh,
because
they're
they were
money
like,
makers. They're money makers."
not everybody likes Starbucks. We can compete.
Right, and they're money makers, they're money
Right.
makers. So I taught him everything and he said, "Do you want a full-time job here and maybe you'll go around and train people on the, like fly around." So I had a choice, either
Travel?
guaranteed like steady job, Barnes and Noble corporate, or take a risk that this guy could just crash and burn. And I did, and I wanted to move to New York and I did. It changed my life. I created the drinks for him. I trained people. I became a wholesale buyer. I was buying for his company. He trained me about how to like do pricing.
And all of that came from working at a Starbucks in Studio City because it
It all came
planted
from
in your
Where's my
brain.
this
Starbucks?
bitch right here. All
God,
from people like that.
I think I saw her today.
It all came from, but it
She
did.
was
It
getting one of
did.
those boba tea drinks.
Ew. I don't like those.
I don't understand them.
I don't understand them. I know people love them, but I don't like sipping in something now is it
Yeah,
like
with
a
the
rock.
gelatinous. It's like drinking an egg white bite.
Oh my God.
Same texture.
I know.
Same
Poor egg
gelatinous
white pie.
texture.
That's the thing that not.
Um,
So that's
so
it. That's it for me. That's what happened.
and when did you come and then you came back to LA?
And then yeah, so what happened is that my intuition but believe kicked on and I was like, here I am. I'm back to myself. I left that person. I moved to New York and then once I was in New York for a year, I said, "You know what? Something's telling me to go back to LA." But here's the funny thing. Went back to LA, didn't have a job, didn't have a car. And I said, I'm going to get a job and it's going to give me a car. And I got a job at a catering company, coffee catering company, where he had a van and he wanted me to drive around and do this catering. Boom. Boom.
And we're back. Mic drop, everybody. Back to the ground. Back to the grind of coffee. Back to the ground? That's Can we take that back? Back to the ground? What are you burying people?
It's actually fitting because it's like getting grounded.
Oh, you're grounding yourself in
Ground.
coffee. What? Mic drop. Oh, shoot.
Mic drop. Oh, wait. Mic drop. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So
Okay,
that's your
now
little
you
journey. Your
and then
little
you
journey took you to a lot of coffee.
my li it did took me it did take me a lot of coffee, but I left that job to start reading full time.
And that's pretty amazing. So, because you were like, I'm back in LA
I
and
did that
Jeff
job
lives
for a while.
here
Yeah.
and he's the one who started me on this. So we're gonna go back. I'm just kidding. I don't know if I
No,
had anything to do with that. Uh,
no, but it is true that it did help me, and then I just kind of was at the time a person of a jack of all trades type of thing,
yeah.
and so coffee always did help. But I remember when I left that job, I told people I'm gonna go read it, and they were looking at me like,
They were
okay.
like, okay, good luck with that.
They were literally like
Where's
that.
my
They
Starbucks?
were literally like that. They were literally like,
I
Where's my Starbucks?
totally. I was like, shut up.
my
Okay.
journey,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
continued on in the coffee world of Starbucks. Like I said, I did a lot
Yeah.
of I stayed on till
But never a
2000,
manager, right?
never
I
a
asked you that
manager,
already. Okay.
only a shift supervisor because I
Mhm.
saw
What it
how the
did.
souls were being sucked out of the
It's
managers. I mean,
true.
as it got bigger and bigger, as the corporation grew
True.
and grew and grew and grew and grew, it, and then you got the ones in the Vons, you got the ones in the Target, you got I mean
Mhm.
everywhere as it grew and grew and grew, it just
Yeah.
seemed a lot more corporate-y.
Mhm. Very corporate-y.
So I was also working in a bank. I was working two jobs too when I worked at Starbucks. I worked at a bank on Saturdays and was the merchant teller, dealing with
Mm.
lots of cashola. So
Mm.
at any rate, yes, I did that, and
Cha-ching.
finally in I want to say it was late 2002, my
Mhm.
mom, who was a costumer, was working on which is odd. It was sort of a ethereal soap opera. It was not Passions, but it had like vampires and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, really?
Yes, and
Oh, cool.
they were doing a wedding, and they needed extra hands, and and somebody's like, one of her coworkers, what about Jeff? Because I had come and visit her at work, and she's like, well, I can ask him. And so she's like, do you want to come and see what I do? And I'm like, not really, because
Really?
here's the side note.
Okay. Okay, side note.
I had wanted, as you know, when we worked at Studio City, Matt and I had our public access show, which I have mentioned before, and people
Yes.
are like, what's public access? And it's was like the YouTube of the time. We'll just say that.
It definitely was the YouTube of the time.
And so we did that, and it was really creative. And we were scouted by a woman who worked at Disney, who was in development, who was, talking the big game and saying, oh, I'm going to make you stars and all that other stuff. And that didn't happen. And so Matt went one way and I went another way, and I started working. I was like, I want to be on SNL. That was my big dream. I'm going to be on SNL. So I went through Groundlings, got my soul crushed there by somebody.
Aw.
And then Second City was opening its first training conservatory in Los Angeles. So I went there, did the whole level there. It kind of reawoke that excitement in me of doing improv and performing.
Mhm.
And then I got really burnt out. So I tried stand up. Wasn't very good. It was okay. But what's so weird is my very first stand up set was about working at Starbucks. It kept coming back.
It
It
makes
just
sense.
kept coming back. So I tried
Mhm.
that. That I got, the first time I didn't get any laughs. I was like, okay, I'm done with this. That's sort of how I am. And then this whole thing with my mom was like, hey, do you want to learn this? And I'm like, if I have to work at Starbucks for another 10 years, I'm going to, make
Yes.
cyanide lattes. I mean, not really, but you know what I'm saying. Uh, People are not going to be happy. So,
No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
I did that, and the designers liked me. The costume designers liked me. I still keep in touch with both of them, actually. And they kept asking me back more and more and more and more and more until finally I was working there pretty regularly because it was just easy. I guess it's in my DNA because my mom was a costumer, and I just picked it up really easily. So I
Yeah.
did that, and then I went to the another soap right after that, and I was there for 14 years.
Oh,
I was the
wow.
assistant costume designer on that show for 10 of those 14 years.
Wow.
And then now I work in the basement of another studio, which is fine. But
You don't
you know,
have to say it like
pays the
that.
bills. It pays the bills.
Right.
But I got burnt out on being the assistant costume designer too. It's a lot of
Right.
work, and
Right.
costumers get very little
Love.
praise because people are like, well, they're just dressing him in clothes, but there's a lot of variables. So I will say that the Starbucks training really helped me, and the improv training has been my savior in so many instances in my
Mhm.
life. It
Mhm.
is one of the best things anybody can do is learn improv, because you can sort of diffuse any situation, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where I went. But here's what I also want to say about you.
Uh-oh.
Not
Oh
bad.
shit. Oh
What's
shit.
crazy is, and I think I might have stated this in your podcast, is that
The house medium.
the house medium, where you get your podcasts, is that you found me one day. Like, we had lost touch. That's the other thing that people should know, is that once Adela left and sort of did her thing and wherever she went.
Once Adela stopped listening to her intuition and went to live in Ohio, that's when we actually lost touch,
Yeah,
by the
we
way.
lost touch. And
Yeah.
so, and things happen, things progress. I was still at the company and blah, blah, blah. So I just remember coming home from work one day, and there was a message on my answering machine, which was then not digital,
And
on
you're
my landline.
right.
And, oh God, where's my phone? I don't have my phone. I don't have my phone.
Well,
I
the
left it in
answering
the other
machine
room.
will get it.
The answering machine will get it. Uh, so
Mhm.
there was a message from you, and it was very like, hey, I don't know if I have the right Jeff Hartman, but my name's Adela. We worked at Starbucks together at Studio City. If you remember me, here's my number. You left your number. And I just thought that was so crazy because, of course, I remembered you. I mean, that I've told that story about my dad a million times,
Okay.
probably, since I've
Yeah,
met you.
same. And same, just to you know, confirm our connection. I've been interviewed, I've done TV shows, wrote a book, and every time the story it goes back. I have told Jeff's story. People are
Yeah.
like, "Well, when did it begin?" I'm like, "Well, still, like let me go back to a time in a coffee
Let's go
shop."
back
Yeah,
to a simpler
in a
time
coffee shop.
in a
But
coffee house.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, but
Mhm.
yeah, so of course I called her and I was like, hey, and you were like, oh my God, because this is when, this is when we had phone books, children. We couldn't search for somebody on the Google. What's a Google? We had to open something called a Yellow Pages, and we had to find a last name and call every single one of those last names to see if the person we were looking for lived there.
The white pages, Grandma. White pages, Grandma.
White pages?
Oh, the yellow pages were for businesses, and the white pages were for the
Oh,
people.
yes, my memory serves me wrong.
Okay, it's
I'm going
okay.
back to sleep now.
Good night.
But yeah, you were saying, you were like, I called so many Jay Hartmans or Jeff
Yeah,
Hartmans, and finally you
and
found
that
me.
was not fun in those days because you
They
would
were
be
like,
like, "Is this Jeff? Do you know?" And Adela, they're like, "What?" And you would just never know
yeah,
what
you
it
know,
was.
yes,
Yeah, it was
not
not
good.
fun.
But you found me, we connected, and I think pretty much ever since then, we've
Mhm.
sort of stayed in contact. Not as much as maybe
Right,
we used to, most people do or whatever, but we've always had a connection. I mean, we've always had a connection anyway, but that we've had a physical, that doesn't sound.
right. We had a physical
We had a
connection. Well,
physical
Jeff,
connection.
so I think that definitely was not happening.
Not at
I'm
all.
definitely not his type. I'm missing a few
An
things in my
appendage. But
yes.
yeah, so we have always had a connection since then,
Mhm.
more so than just in the past or spiritually.
Sure.
So
And the weird thing is, weirdly, I do remember this. When you brought it up, I forgot about it the last time when we talked about it. Your dad, I did tell me, because back then I would be able to see it like writing on a chalkboard, your last name,
Oh.
because I couldn't remember your last name.
Oh, yeah, I remember you saying, "I couldn't remember your last name, but your
And
dad
he
told me," or
and
something
here
like that.
Steph's going through life, and I'm just, like, hanging out with his dad. I'm like, "Listen, I'm smoking cigarettes, like, listen, what's up? What do you want me to do? Where's your son? I don't know." And we're chit-chatting, and Jeff's just, like, having no idea. I'm just hanging out with
No,
his
just
dad.
doing my thing.
"Tell me again about what it was like as a
Mm.
child." No, I definitely I definitely did feel this weird feeling of, like, this bond of like, I need to know if you're okay, what you're doing. Like, I always kind of always felt that way. Like, it
Crazy.
wasn't like gonna be okay if I don't know what's like. I needed to know.
Right.
It didn't
Like
feel
you had to
right.
have eyes on me.
I just had to have something. So that's why
Yeah.
when social media came along,
So much easier.
so much easier
As
than,
much as I'm, sometimes it has its pluses and minuses like everything in the
would
world.
you prefer this perhaps? Do you miss this?
Ah, it's like the opening of Murder, She Wrote. I love Murder, She Wrote, people.
Shocking.
Jessica Fletcher
Shocking.
rules my world. I watched it this morning, as a matter of fact. Yep, sure did.
What?
Sure did. Peacock has all of Murder, She Wrote. I started at the beginning
You
from
watched it
episode 1.
on the cock. I stole that from my husband. He always calls
I
it that.
did. I
Oh,
did.
wow.
And
Okay.
you can fast forward the opening if you want. I never do. I love it. Love it.
You are confessing today.
I
You are confessing. Boom. He loves it. End of story.
love
End of story.
the Jessica Fletcher, Angela Lansbury. What's crazy is, and maybe
Yes.
you've seen these facts, which
Yeah.
sometimes I don't like facts.
Okay.
You look at like the Golden Girls, or like Archie Bunker and Edith, or from All in the Family,
Mm-hmm.
or you look at like Angela Lansbury in
Right.
Murder, She Wrote, and all of them were in their 50s or 40s.
Yes, I know.
And it makes me want to hurl.
But here's the thing. I have a different take on it.
Okay.
When I look at the Golden Girls, because I've seen this on the tickety talk,
On the ticket to
on the tickety talk, and
hmm
on other places, and they're like, they'll give a list. They're like, look at the Golden Girls. This is the age, and we're that age. I'm like, well, damn, I'm looking good then. That's how
Right.
I look at it. And not to mention, I go, we've progressed into the idea
Yes.
that like 50 is not like you're just one foot in the grave. I mean, that
That's true.
show was like
They were all widows.
they were living in a retirement home for
hmm
old people
You're right.
who are
100%.
like too old to be a part of the rest of the world. Like,
Right.
just be over there
Yeah.
and do nothing. And by the way, we both can contest to this. Nobody our age is retiring.
Oh,
Okay. Boom.
I don't think I'm ever
Boom.
going to be able
I mean, Gen Xers, we are not retiring.
And
So
yeah, there
that
won't be
was
any Social Security left for us either.
no, there would like they were living in this like life where they could just do whatever. So now I look at that, I'm like, so this is how they thought of women. Like, once you reach that age, you
Yeah.
are just done.
Just go into your corner of
Go
Miami.
away. Just
We don't need you
fly away.
anymore.
I might as well just like go up into the spaceship because it's fucking over, everybody. But not today anymore. Not today. Now,
Not today.
not now. They kind of like 50 looks different.
50 looks
J
different.
Lo. I
Well,
mean, I don't love
I was
J Lo,
gonna
but
say that.
she like
J-Lo.
I don't like her. I've never liked her, and I didn't jump on the internet bandwagon. I never really liked her. But look at her, and you look at that, and you look at like anybody of the look at the Friends actresses.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
Jen Ann. She didn't say I could call her that. I just do.
are you friends with her now? Is that it?
You know what's so weird? Here's what's so weird is
Get my
that
pen.
I'm friends. No, is that when I worked at the Starbucks in Toluca Lake, It's right down the street from Warner Brothers, and we used to do a lot of the friends orders on Friday nights. Like the production would call in. I mentioned this before.
Yeah.
60 drinks. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. It was
Wow.
outrageous. And I remember I would walk on my lunch. I would walk to the Taco Bell, which was across the street from Warner Brothers because it was within walking distance, and have
Yeah.
lunch. And I remember sitting there eating my bean and cheese burrito and being like, I'm going to work at Warner Brothers someday. I'm going to be on that lot. You got to be really careful and specific about what you ask for, because if you work there, I work there in a capacity that isn't what I really thought it was going to be.
And what was that capacity?
What did I want it to be?
No, what did you end up working there as?
Oh, that's where I currently work, is at Warner Brothers in the costume department in the rental area.
Fancy you. Fancy you.
So that's that. And then also when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Disney. I mean, you might be able to see behind me.
Yeah, he has a lot of Disney memorabilia.
Not so much anymore. I don't obsess, but I was like, I want to work at Disney one day. And then the soap I worked at was owned by ABC, which was owned by Disney.
Okay.
Again, I did put these things out in the universe. I just wasn't specific enough.
I always tell people, like, be specific.
Yeah, I wasn't.
You got to be specific, because if you're not, then you get the order in, but you don't get the full latte.
Ooh, damn!
I did it. Yes, a little bit of a stretch, but
but yeah, it was like, I want to work at Warner Brothers one day, and then I should have been a lot more specific. I'm learning this as I get older.
You do. I didn't even know this. When I said I wanted a car, I did not want an old rickety van that I was pretty much thought I was going to die every time I drove it.
How large Marge sent ya?
I should have been
driving like this.
Oh, yeah.
If you can't see this, but I'm driving like a school bus driver.
Yes, exactly.
So the the youth age is very different now, as we mentioned. I mean, look at Cher. She's like 90.
And she has like a 25-year-old boyfriend.
She's late 70s, or is she?
Do it, Cher.
Girl, Cher wins.
She wins.
She wins. I mean, she's winning her life.
I have a question.
Please.
It's a little bit of a debate, and I might get a little shit from it. But who do you think is on the aging game, Madonna or Cher?
Who do I think's winning it?
Who's winning?
Oh, Cher.
I know. What happened?
I mean,
and look, Madonna's younger.
I love Madonna. Madonna was one of the first powerful women pop stars to really...
We love Madonna, yes.
Support the gay community 110%. And
sure.
So I can't say anything.
And speak for women and say, like, we can be sexual. Like Madonna led the way for all these artists today, because, I mean, it was a big deal to wear like a bra on stage. Everyone thought she's going to go to hell for wearing a bra. Look at today. Now people are having sex on stage. I mean,
it's gotten a little crazy.
It's a little crazy.
But yes, Madonna was very outspoken for the gay community.
Yeah.
She was a huge AIDS activist, still is. Like, she really has supported a lot of... So I won't say anything negative per se about that, because she's a great human being. But
absolutely,
that she just needs to stop with the plastic surgery.
I think it's the plastic surgery.
Do people become addicted to it, do you think?
They do become addicted to it. But you know what always goes in my mind? And I think it was the Back to the Future, or maybe it was a different movie. I think it was a different movie. It might have been a spoof movie where they make fun of like Madonna's like 80 and still going. It happened. Like they showed her trying to be sexy after all these years. I forget what movie it was. It
wasn't a Simpsons, because Simpsons seems to predict the future.
It could have been. Yeah, I have a theory on that. After working on Family Guy and seeing how they write stuff and the people they know and get involved in the writing, they kind of have an in on the world a little bit more than people think. But that's just my theory. Ooh, what was that noise?
I accidentally hit my cup with my...
Oh, I thought you were...
Tinkerbell rings her little bell like this. Let's begin now. Do you remember those golden records when you were a kid? Where it was
yes.
Records, ladies and children.
Why don't you tell us about records, Grandma?
There's something called a vinyl record. And you put it on with the thing, a
Do you even know
turntable.
what a vinyl record is, Grandma? Because it's maybe before your time. No.
And then you put it on the turntable. And you take the needle. And it plays a lovely tune, similar to what you're hearing now. Oh, God. I keep trancing out.
That's because Grandma's going on about things that no one knows about.
But they were like
Okay.
the records, and it was like,
Yes.
you would get like Mickey and the Beanstalk, and it'd be like, you will know it is time to turn the page when Tinkerbell rings a little bell.
That's
Like
true.
this.
That's true.
Let's begin
Yes.
now. Yeah.
That's very true. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
the thing I think about Madonna, I'm just going to leave it on it because we went on a tangent on Madonna. The thing I will say is that it's the surgery because obviously Cher's had surgery, but it's the kind of surgery like she got the BBL and she got like a lot of stuff like
I don't know what that means.
BBL is when you get your booty lodged up. Boom, pow, pow, pow,
Your
pow.
booty?
Yeah, when you get a fake booty.
Oh, but that has nothing to do with her face.
But I mean, she's gone that far.
Oh, she's
Like
gone
when
that far.
she did
I get
that,
it.
when she got that done, I was like, okay, she really. I think, and I have a suspicion she just isn't healthy. Like she was always big on health, and I heard her. I'm not just doing a read on her, which I could, but she
The
has talked
library is
about
not open.
the library is not open, and not that kind of read, but more of a psychic read. But she did talk about like being like liking pills a lot. I heard her talk about. So I think when we knew her, she was very health conscious, and so I think she's kind of gone off of that. She doesn't seem as health conscious anymore.
Well, I think this was before she had kids and she was younger. And
I don't think
on
she's
tour.
handling getting older very well. And as a fellow Leo, I get it.
I think
I
a lot
get
of
it.
people are like that now. A lot of people. Yeah, I don't.
Mimi.
I don't.
Whoa, what was that?
Did you
There's
hear
all
that?
kinds of noises
That
coming
was
in.
my freaking email coming. I don't know how to turn that off. Email? What is this crazy notion?
Well,
Is
anyway.
there a little mailman in my computer? Hello, sir? It's Sunday. You're not supposed to be working.
We'll have to go over and help Jeff figure out how to turn his email off. In the meantime, I have things popping up on my screen that I don't know how to turn off. Anyway, however,
yes,
that
aging, the whole aging thing, I think, is very like people getting the Botox in their laugh lines and the forehead.
I think Botox is weird, but what's weirder to me is 20-something-year-olds getting Botox. I don't get it. I just don't get why they need it. And I feel like it makes them look older. It's just my opinion.
I agree.
Because I think when I hear people say, oh, how come Gen X looks so much younger? I think it's because we didn't do those things. Like we weren't putting stuff
at our
in our
disposal.
face at 20-something for especially. I think
fillers
it looks
and
weird.
lip injections.
Yeah, we didn't do any of those things. So I think it actually makes, because you're young, you have this beautiful young, you don't need it. But that's my opinion.
Yes,
but anyway,
you still have a lot of collagen.
We went on a whole tangent.
Tangents happen here. Tangents happen. I'm going to get a shirt that says that. Tangents happen. Because they do.
They do. Okay, so this is an episode that kind of goes, we went down memory lane, and we also kind of give a little idea of how we met, how we got here, and then from there on, going forward, we will continue down looking back and also being in the present. But you'll get to know us.
We'll always look back.
Always look back. That's the point of this, right? Going back to the books.
Back to the books and talking about a simpler time.
Was it a simpler time? Not to me.
In technology, it was.
Oh, that's true. But it also was a bitch of a time. A bitch of a time.
I would not want to. People are always like, oh, if I could be 20, I would not want to be 20.
No, I just want the whole body part back.
Yeah. I wish I could enjoy my 20s more. and not be so
Everybody,
self-conscious.
yeah, that's the funny thing about it, right?
Yeah.
When you're younger, you like don't you have all these insecurities that
Well,
come
you're
with.
always comparing yourself to people.
You're also young and don't really have a perspective of
Right.
time as much as you think you do, so it's kind of an interesting. But
Yeah.
I think that I love progression, as you know, and I feel that moving forward is always great, and learning and growing. But it is good, you're right, to kind of look at where we came from.
Yes. Don't forget where you came from. Starbucks in the 90s.
Oh
It's where we
gosh.
came from.
That's where we were made and born. All right, so that's a wrap on episode 5. I love your cup. Jeff's holding up his cup. Are you trying to promote them, or are you trying to get Starbucks to send you
Oh,
more cups?
well, here's what I was going to say.
Yes.
If this is an old logo, because nowadays they don't
Oh.
even say, it doesn't even say Starbucks coffee on it anymore. This is an article I just read
Oh, you're
about the
right.
progression of the siren. How, it once was the spread thins. We talked about that. We don't need to get
Little sexual.
nasty again. Nasty. That's Janet Jackson. Nasty. Nasty boy. Don't mean a thing. Anyway.
Oh,
Oh,
you
you
nasty
nasty
boy.
boy. Okay. But the siren used to be that, and then it went to more. Then it was also that, but it had Starbucks coffee in green, and then it went to
Yeah.
this, and now it's just the siren.
He's pointing to so that he has an
Oh,
old
I'm sorry.
logo
The old logo, it has Starbucks coffee written around the
written
siren,
around it.
like a
Yeah.
medallion.
You
It's
know
not like
why?
that
Because
anymore.
they're probably trying to promote, like, get all our other shit, like our sandwiches and our this.
Well, yes, I think you're right about that, is that, they have their hands in so many different pots.
Right. Yes.
But also, this has become world renowned. The symbol of the siren has
They don't
become,
need to
they don't
anymore.
need to say what it is anymore.
They're
And it
like,
wouldn't just be coffee. That's unfortunate.
that's true.
I'm
But I
talking
do
to
think it's very interesting. I'll end on this, that the Target, they still are using
old school with the
the
Sharpie
Sharpie
instead of
that
the printed
Tony
out
told us
stickers.
about.
The printed
Mhm.
out stickers, because the printed out stickers are only in Starbucks proper, not in offshoots.
Not the half, not the half and
Not the
half.
muggles.
Not the muggles, not the half muggles.
The muggle.
I wanted to show you that I got these at C's Candy.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. That looks good. Chocolate coffee beans.
Chocolate coffee beans,
See's
but the
Candy does chocolate
bean,
coffee beans?
and it's Pete's Coffee, baby. Pete,
Uh,
a
well,
competitor.
funny thing, Pete's and Starbucks, I guess they both started about the
They
same time.
started
And
together.
somebody left Starbucks and started Pete's,
Yeah.
or vice versa. I forget which. It's interconnected. Is there a space-time continuum that we just infracted? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Marty,
I don't know what happened.
you
Where
made
did
a
you go?
time machine out of a DeLorean?
All right. Well, on that
Okay.
note,
On that note,
we're gonna say goodbye. Thank you for
goodbye.
joining us on episode 5. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at When Starbucks Was Fun. And we're getting some reviews in. And if you send in your reviews, I'm gonna post them on my Instagram. Jeff's gonna post it on his
Yeah.
Instagram. We're gonna post it on our Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel that you can watch this
The
podcast
crazy
on.
shenanigans.
The crazy shenanigans, and Jeff's mug. You can look at all of his
Not
lovely
just face, but ceramic.
and his, evil queen on the back of him,
Ooh.
and all of his like
Yes.
collectibles. And you could look at my wonderful mansion that I live in my decor.
Your decor.
And also us, but you can go to YouTube at Where Starbucks Was Fun and look at us there. Please do review, though. It does help kind of get us seen. The more people kind of like comment, when you comment and review on any of the stuff we do, we also post a lot of like a little short bits on things, and on TikTok. You can follow me at Adela Vine on everything that I have: TikTok, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. And I have another podcast that we mentioned, The House Medium. And you can follow Jeff at
It's Jeff Funny on Instagram.
And he has a TikTok he's starting to do.
Oh, yes. And that's just Jeff Funny. Not just Jeff Funny. It's Jeff Funny.
Jeff Funny!
Just find me. You'll find me.
He's funny. He is. And please, everyone, send him DMs and send him love because I want him to feel the love. So
Feel the hearts.
Feel the hearts.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Look at me. You see that? I did that.
You made hearts.
I made hearts.
Oh,
look.
well,
I feel the love. Well, you're not doing a heart. You're doing goggles. You have to do this. Like this. Like a heart shape.
A heart.
See, look.
Oh. Mine doesn't care.
You have
you then.
There's no love.
All right. No love for Adele.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Keep listening.
Listening and listening to When Starbucks Was Fun.
When we were young, when Starbucks was fun.
See you soon.
Bye.